Though I am free and belong to no man, I make myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To the weak I became weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all men, so that by all possible means I might save some. Now, I just quoted two texts from chapter 9 of 1 Corinthians, where Paul is talking about his ardent desire to win as many people as possible to God's kingdom. And in this, I actually quoted two texts without the context in between. I just quoted 19 and verse 22, but there's a reason for that, because I've heard that phrase, all things to all people, thrown around a lot. And often what I see in the world today is that text is being applied in more ways than one. You've read and I've seen out on the internet a concern over how fragmented our lives have become because of this virtual reality that we're living in. And you can see that especially so now. After the pandemic, after the lockdown, we were forced into this virtual way of living through video chat and through online meetings and such, just in order to survive, in order to even continue our work, our vocations. But now that same spirit and that same method is still carried on. It's still part and parcel of our lives, and let's be honest, when we're on the internet, it feels like superpower made real. We're able to be in more places around the globe than ever before. Google Maps opens up the entire world at your fingertips in real photos that are there, that are fairly recent, that show you what that land is like. People are adept even at identifying in a matter of seconds where a photograph has been taken just by familiarizing themselves with all these different environments online. It is amazing, but at the same time, we are much less grounded and situated in the communities and our neighborhoods and the places where we actually live in reality than we once were. Generally speaking, that is the case more and more. And often this text becoming all things to all people is another way that we are fragmented as well. In other words, we're becoming social chameleons in the way that we interact in all these different ways. In our social media presence, we are one person. In our personal lives, we're another person. In our public persona, we're another person. In our friendships and our social life, we're a different person. And all these different hats that we wear can also keep us from being genuine, transparent, also from being a faithful disciple of Christ. But here's where I want to clarify some things as well. It sounds like I've been using this text to illustrate a very, you could say, problematic part of living in the 21st century. But here's what Paul's actually getting at. He's not saying that we should live fragmented lives. Far from it. He's saying, I am so grounded in my relationship with Christ, and that is my true identity, that I'm able to reach out to people in many different situations and many different spheres, you could say, because I have that strong foundation, that anchor that holds me to my one primary identity as a disciple of Christ. And that's what we need more than anything, friends, is true discipleship. Not based on just curating what we're like online in order to impress people. It's about, here's what God has done in my life, and genuinely, transparently communicating what we once were and how Christ has changed that. Giving our testimony, in other words. These thoughts are just rolling around in my head. I just had to let them out and express that in our video today, and I'm going to keep developing them, but until then, I just want to share here in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 19 through 22, Paul shows us that privilege that we have of being a true disciple and letting it show in whatever situation we find ourselves in. Thank you so much. God bless.